All right, today we're going to talk about perception, time, memory, movement, and language. Let's start off, and we're going to tie all of these things together at the end. And so let's start off with sight, all right? The five senses, all right? The sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. There's actually more than five senses, but we won't get into that. Let's just, for simplicity's sake, let's just look at those five senses and then consider, okay, which of the five senses is telling me that time is taking place? And of course, none of the five senses tells you that. The only thing the five senses do is tell you what is happening right now, right now, right now. That's all it does. Every moment, it just tells you what is happening. And then, so how do you remember time then? And of course, that's through memory. Memory records what our five senses are telling us, and it records it into memory. So, let's take a look at the equation of something moving, okay? Notice that an object has to move a distance over time. Even light has to do this because light itself takes time to move, all right? So, remember what I told you. The five senses only tell you what's happening right now. So, if something is moving, then it can't see anything in the past. For instance, if an object is at x equals 5 and it moves to x equals 4, you can only see the object in one place at one time. When the object is at x equals 4, you see it at x equals 4. You don't see it at x equals 5 at the same time. And you don't see it moving, actually. You only see where it is at the exact moment that you're seeing it. And this is the problem with the word that we use, the language that we use. The language that we use says, I see it move. Well, you couldn't see it move because I just showed you in this equation that you cannot see into the past. You can only see the present. And you only remember the past. So you remember it moving is actually more accurate. But, of course, I don't even expect anyone to change the way that it would be too confusing to say I remember it moving. And I don't expect anyone to say that. I hope people, when they hear I see it moving, I hope they will go, oh, I remember it moving. I think it's entertaining at the least. And there's a hypothesis that this is a perfect example of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It is a hypothesis that says when we use a word, it changes the way that we think. And I can't think of a better example of this. So if you didn't understand what I said so far, let's take a look at this. This is what your sight sees. This is what it sees. Notice that it's not moving. There's no memory in this photo. So 30 minutes ago, I mean, how do I add movement to this thing when there's no movement here? Well, I start taking a photo, and then I take another one at regular interval, and I take regular photos, and that's literally what's happening in time. Your eyes are just taking a picture of what is happening right now. And it does, in fact, but obviously, I don't know what the actual frame per second of human vision is. It obviously probably changes. How many frames of reality can we see at one point in time? I read some research that the human eye is capable of seeing almost 1/250th of a second. So it's possible to see 250 frames per second with the correct lighting And depending on how large the object is and how fast the object is moving, well, no, yeah, it depends on how fast the object is moving. And if you can, so you could calculate. Well, the reason why I can't see some things, you can calculate at what speed would something be moving so fast that you couldn't see it anymore. Well, you'd have to calculate, one, how many frames per second you could process this object, all the way from where it starts to all the way. I mean, I guess you would shoot something sideways. You'd have to shoot it sideways. You wouldn't shoot it forwards because you're changing things now. You'd have to shoot it sideways at the exact same distance the whole way. And then you would calculate, okay, so if I shoot it from left to right, how many frames per second could I see this thing? And then you could calculate, well, I just shoot it faster than your eye could process this object going from left to right. And that would make it impossible to even see. And you understand, and the reason why it's impossible to see it is because now, again, if you say I see it move, it makes no sense that you can't see some object the faster it goes. Why can't I see the object the faster it goes? Well, you don't know that what you're doing is you're actually just looking at this, and then you're remembering it in the past. If an object moves so fast that you can't remember, quote unquote, remember it, then it's practically invisible. And I'll just finish with this. We only see the present, and we remember the past, and that is how we perceive motion.